Morning, today's meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City will order. Everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Thank you for allowing us to gather tonight and conduct the business of the city. We ask you to look over the family of Detective Corporal Tim Parisi and what they're going through. Bless this community. Guide us in what we do tonight that is pleasing in your eyes for the betterment of the community. Look after our first responders, our troops, and our citizens. In your name we pray. Amen. Ms. Sanders, would you call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Here. Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Dial?
Here.
Mr. Cannon?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting. Since 1968, the city code has prohibited any person from making personal and pertinent or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council. That's to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is meeting. No proclamations. We have minutes from the September 5th regular session, the September 18th regular session, and the September 26th special call meeting.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes is published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda is published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public comments, I have one, Mr. Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, Council, today make 40 days since the murder of Morale Smith on Northwest Long Street, and I would hope that, like I'm sure that y'all still got that family and that death on your mind, and encourage the law enforcement to do all they can do to bring some closure to the families and justice for the family, because social media is lighting it up in our community. People talking about it. There's outrage that things going on behind the scenes. And these kind of incidents can lead to public violence. So I would hope that you already know private capacity is encourage the law enforcement, the state attorney's office, anybody involved, do all they can to bring some closure to this. Because a 12-year-old kid being killed while sitting on their couch, watching TV and doing homework. This is not Jacksonville. This is not Atlanta. This is Lake City, Florida. So I would hope that will stay at the top of your mind. Mr. Mayor, this part of my public comment mentioned something that you said last week, and I understand the need for the quorum. I understand for stability and all of that. But I would encourage you not to take that to the level that you attempt to suppress speech. That all of us got a right to stand at this podium and to be critical of elected officials, not to use profanity, not to name call, but to be critical of employees as well as elected officials. I was a state employee for 13 years for DOT. I was out of advertising inspector. My job was to enforce Chapter 479 of the Florida statute, outdoor Lady Bird Act. So you can imagine in the state of Florida, North Florida, I was going around telling people they could have put a sign on property they own to advertise their business. And I was on the black person area doing it. I came across a lot of criticism, a lot of things that were said to me I had to accept. So I'm just encouraging you, man, as you attempt to get control of the meeting, as you say, that control don't come to the point of suppressing speech, because all of us got a right to express our opposition and our discontent with something taking place. So I just want to get that out there, because sometimes we can get to the point that it's out of control. We're out of control. You don't get in control by suppressing my right to being critical of you or anybody else. There's certain things I shouldn't say. I get that, but to tell me I can't say anything critical, even an employee, they public servants, and we have a right praise them when they do a good job, and we got a right to be critical of them when they don't do a good job. So I just want to make that point that I would be terribly upset that if you attempt to suppress speech, you have a desire to control the meeting. Thank you, sir.
All right, next is, informational purposes. Mr. Dial, did you want to say anything about item 4 about negotiations, or is that just part of the consent agenda?
No, sir, this is on the consent agenda where we all going to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there a
Mr.
motion?
Mayor, I make a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No presentations under ordinances. We're opening a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2023-2258 on final reading. Mr. Ken, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2258, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-04 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from residential moderate density, less than or equal to 4 dwelling units per acre, to residential medium density, less than or equal to 8 dwelling units per acre of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? If not, we will close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2023-2258 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for adoption of City Council Ordinance 2023-2258 on final reading. There's one mistype in the third line where it says of at the very end. That should be or. You read it or correctly. I just want to clarify that as part of the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Ox, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next, we'll open a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2023-2259 on final reading. Mr. McKenna, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2259, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-05 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from county commercial to city commercial of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Okay, this is passing first reading 9/18/23. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this ordinance? If not, we will close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2023-2259 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve 2023-2259 on final reading, please.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Ox, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next, we're opening a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2023-2261 on final reading. Mr. Ken, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2261, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City, land development regulations as amended, relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z 23-05 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from residential single family 2 RSF 2 to residential / office RO of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody wish to speak to this? If not, we'll move to adoption of City Council Ordinance 2023-2261
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-2261, final reading.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Ashby, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next is a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2023-2262 on final reading.
Ordinance number 2023-2262, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City, land development regulations as amended relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z 23-06 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from county commercial intensive CI to city commercial intensive CI of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody want to speak to this? If not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance number 2023-2262 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to adopt City Council Ordinance 2023-2262 on the final reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Ashby, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, next is City Council Resolution number 2023-112. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-112, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, accepting the resignation of Paul Dial as city manager and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this was tabled at the last meeting, and so we need a motion to take it off the table.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to remove from the table City Council Resolution 2023-112.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Ashby, you call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay. Is there a motion as the City Council Resolution 2023-112?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-112.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Ashby? Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Dow, again, I speaking for Jay, hate to see you go. And I hope if there's any way possible for you to reconsider rescinding your resignation, I, for number one, would be the first to say, I make the motion to approve you rescinding your resignation. That's all.
Okay.
I got a comment on that as well. Again, Mr. Dowell, I totally understand. Whenever things come up, things happen, I totally understand. And when a man makes up his mind, he wants to do something, there's nothing that you could say or do to change that for the most part. So I wish you and whatever endeavor, whether you decide to stay or if you decide to go, I wish you the best, because it's been a real pleasure working with you, D. Johnson, and the department heads that you have here. So I just want to let you know you got a team put together and it's running very, very well. So I just want to let you know it's a pleasure to work with you and for you.
I would just like to say to Mr. Dowell, I thank you and I appreciate all that you've done. I appreciate the road that you paved. And it really has, or it will be, a great journey for us because of the payment that you paid. I thank you, and I respect your decision. It's your choice, you man. Thank you so much.
And I'd also like to thank you for all you've done and all, for giving us a consideration this week of rethinking it and all, and I know your decision is best for you and your family. Ms. Ashby, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next is City Council Resolution 2023-113. Can we read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-113, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, appointing interim city manager, granting authority to the interim city manager, providing authority to the interim city manager and city finance director by joint signatures to sign all checks and vouchers on all city bank accounts, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, I make the motion, at this time, that we appoint interim city manager, Mr. D. Johnson. He has served this position, he's assistant city manager. He's well qualified, he is the man for the position. He's trailed Mr. Dow, and I've even heard Mr. Dow, when questions are asked of Mr. Dow, I've seen him go to Mr. Johnson. So, at this time, I make the motion that we make, Mr. D. Johnson interim city manager.
Second.
So I second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, along with, what Ms. Young has made, has made comments on, I've talked to Mr. Dow, and, he assured me that D is well qualified to continue to move the city forward. And the staff, looks up to Mr. Johnson as well. They work well together. So again, I have no doubt that Mr. Johnson would not let Mr. Dow down, as well as his council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to also, comment on that as well. You know, I have long discussions with, Mr. Johnson and, you know, and Mr. Dow, and, I'm positive that, he will, make the best decisions, for the city. His goal and aspiration is to put this city first. And I can't help but respect that to the utmost. So along with the other comments that said, I would love to see a person like Mr. Johnson to become the interim city manager. And Mr. Dow has assured me that Mr. Johnson can do the job as well as he can, if not better. So I just want I want everybody to know that Mr. Johnson will do the job.
I don't know if everybody got this from Jeff Schubert. He probably today, stayed interested in the interim city manager job. I think Dee's a good guy, and he's done a great job for the city so far, and that's big shoes, but Mr. Dow has confidence in him, I do too.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So going back, interim's not a position that's specifically spoken about in the charter that I can tell, but my question would be, does the interim city manager, would they have to have the same qualifications that's codified in the charter? And that might be a question for Mr. Kennedy.
In our opinion, no, because there is no set policy or procedure. It's an interim temporary position. So it's our opinion that as long as the council properly considers the qualifications of the person nominated, that they go forward.
Okay, but that wouldn't hold for the full-time position.
That's correct. That is clearly delineated in
And my consideration, as the assistant city manager, if the city manager wasn't there, he would be acting anyway, so it's just a matter of when you change his title.
Well, that was a question I had. I had spoken to Mr. Dow earlier. I wasn't sure if we even needed to appoint someone interim city manager since he's already assistant city manager. I mean, he could just take over running the city as the assistant without a change in status. So to me, that either way, it doesn't matter. I was just thinking, you know, he's the assistant. He's already a signatory. He's already got the authorization to do it. And while we're going through the search, I think it's important that we have someone in the reins that's gonna keep us on the same path we're on.
And I agree with you on the technicality of it, and I appreciate Mr. Kennan for that. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Mayor Witten.
Yes. Okay, item 12, discussion possible action, city manager hiring process, Mr. Sampson.
Although we have Mr. Johnson in place as our interim, it's gonna be important that we look quickly for a manager. We went through this process previously, some of us that were on this council then, and we tried to hire headhunters. And we went through an unsuccessful process, in my opinion, when it would have been a lot quicker had we done something similar to what I'm proposing here, which is a process that would take us to about a 30-day period to have someone ready to go, 30 to 45 days top. So hiring a city manager is critical. It's critical. One good thing is we don't have the instability in the department heads that we had previously. As Mr. Don knows, when he first came in, there was a lot of departments that had nobody as department heads, and there had been a lot of hold on moving things forward. So as we look for this next city manager, I think we're looking for something different than we were looking for last time. I think this time we're looking for someone maybe more of a guiding hand than an agent of change would be my opinion. However, I did put together a comprehensive plan for hiring a manager that would be pretty quick, that we could roll on pretty quick. Review and update the job description. I think anytime there's a change, we should do that as a group. I think the job description should come to all of us to review it. I think we should also have it reviewed by people in the community, make sure the city manager position is up to date with what's the expectations. A budget and timeline. I think we need to allocate the necessary budget. The last one we talked to, Benzinger, was going to charge right at $30,000. To me, I would circumvent that process. I think that goes to step 2, which would be first, we did have a lot of applicants recently. I identified the past applicants that qualified and reach out to them to allow them to update their resumes. As part of that, I'd set a deadline, 2 weeks. 2 weeks to, if you're still interested, update a resume, get it back to us. Then after that, the third step would be to advertise a position to get anyone interested to apply. There's a bunch of places to advertise: the Florida League of Cities job board, the FAC job board, other online job boards. Advertisements to highlight the job description, qualifications, in the process. Then you have an application period. I don't think it needs to be more than 2 weeks. People are gonna apply if they see the job and they're interested. I think the longer we delay that, the longer it's gonna take, and I think we can make a big mistake if we drag this out like we did last time. Then you get to the application screening, the initial screening. HR, they can do it. Mr. Dallas hired us a HR director that's fully capable of screening people to make sure they meet the minimum qualifications. And moving forward with that, the HR director will rate the applicants according to the requirements of the charter, and any other requirements we might put into the job description. And then after that, review and shortlisting with the council, candidate interview, similar to what we did before. If we have 5 candidates, there's no need to bring 5 people in. We could do those Zoom like we did previously. And then when you get down to 2 or 3, bring the top 3 back. I prefer top 3. Last time we only had a top 2 when we first did it, but I think the top 3 at that point need to be here in person interviews. The community can meet them, this council can meet them, and then from that point, have that final interview just like we did before. Then from there, go to the employment onboarding, and finally a public announcement. There's nothing in here that's earth-shattering or a change. The only difference is, instead of saying, hey, let's hire a Basinger or a Narlock or something that takes us down the path of spending months and months looking, let's go ahead and streamline the process and get it rolling. And so that's what I wanted to submit to the council, that idea.
The organization that city managers belong to, I think we need to reach out to them too.
ICMA.
Mr. Bowden wants to speak on this one.
I won't wait till the council whenever I go ready to have my input. I do appreciate Mr. Sampson offering that suggestion, and I do think there needs to be a plan, for sure. No doubt about that. I take a couple of, I got some concerns. I think haste can make waste. You know, I understand it's important to try to fill the position as quickly as you can. But I think a month is absolutely too quick. 2 weeks on an application is too quick. For this reason, in this particular professional matter, there's not many people of color that are men and women in the profession. And if you shorten that time frame, you limit how quick people can apply, you in effect, in my view, is impacting those people who out there who may want to apply. I take strong exception to reaching out to those who applied for this position a year ago. Those people that still looking for a job, they look at the same board that everybody else look at. To reach out to them is almost like suggesting to them that you got an inside track. If I was applying for the job and knew that this city reached out to somebody who applied for a year and a half ago and said, look, update your resume, the job is open, it's almost suggests it come back in. So I think that those people who, if they still looking for a job, they look at the same board that everybody looked at and they apply. I don't think the city should reach out to anybody and say, hey, we got an opening. If you individually don't want to call somebody, hey, we got an opening next year, then you do it. But I don't think this HR or the city should reach out to an employee in Texas, Miami, wherever, and say, hey, the job is open again, come back. And I think that impact very strongly the process. But I think that 2 weeks application is absolutely too short. You know, I don't have a time frame, but I know this, that word of mouth goes a long ways. And to advertise for just 2 weeks and then close it in 2 weeks, I think I don't think you get the best candidates to apply. Because a lot of people go to conferences and they talk and say, hey, you know about this job in Lake City? And bottom line, I just think that 2 weeks is too quick. And it's almost like as if I don't see urgency, frankly. If what we heard about Mr. Johnson and what Mr. Dowd said about Mr. Johnson, what we heard about the state of the city, then I think that we should take the time it takes to find a qualified person to do the job. I mean, just the haste suggests, I don't like that. That's just my opinion. I just think that's too quick.
Council?
Yes, I would like to say something. I thank you, Mr. Bowden, for making the comment. I think the council should have had the opportunity to speak before public comment. And I would like to say I do not agree with the quick movement on hiring a city manager. I believe, and we've spoken, that we have Mr. Johnson here. We've spoken that he's assistant city manager. We've spoken that assistant city managers step up. And I would like to see him given the opportunity, give him time. He knows where the city is. We hire somebody in, we don't know what we're getting, we don't know who we're getting. We know who we have here. We know what he's capable of. So I say give him the opportunity to work this position and not call someone in and the hiring process. I'm really offended, Mr. Sampson. I'm sorry, Councilman. I'm really offended that we not give HR the opportunity. We have HR, and they are qualified, or we wouldn't have hired them. They are equipped, we wouldn't have hired them. We hired HR, who we should depend on. Give them the opportunity to work their what they were hired to do. I just think that's kind of bold for us to step into HR and kind of instruct them on how to do. So I say we give this time. I say at least, I want to say a year. I say at least 6 months. I want to say a year. We know who we have with Mr. D. Johnson.
I'm gonna let Hill go first, I go.
Well, I think we need to vet this. I don't think we need to rush right into this. Again, I spoke with Mr. Dow, and he assures me that D is well qualified and capable of moving the city forward. Saying that is that HR, we also have a new HR director, which she is understaffed. So putting this burden on her right now, I don't think it's a great idea with her being understaffed. So I think we should go with the consultant with we've had this Basinger and Associates, we had them, just before we hired Mr. Dow. So I think we should get with, this is my opinion, I think we should get with the city attorney and have him reach out to Basinger and Associates to see if they're still interested in, looking for helping us find our next city manager. But until then, D is the mayor.
So what is until, if I can ask the question, what is until then?
When we go through the process. We have, again, this council has the final say in hiring the city manager.
So we're looking for a city manager now.
We're going through the process.
Yes, sir. Again, I respect all the council's decision on what we are trying to do, but we got to get on the same accord. Of course, we have a excellent HR director, and I know she's capable of getting somebody in here for that position. However, 2 weeks is a short turnaround. 2 months, I would say that would be good. In other words, I don't think that we should give the guidelines. I think that by her being the HR director, she's got the guidelines. She knows the job. So let's let her tell us what the procedure in going out and getting and the qualifications for that matter, getting a good qualified city manager such as D. Johnson. We'll also give him a chance. I mean, there's all kind of things out there we could possibly do, but I'm hoping and praying that we all get on the same page to get the best qualified person for that position. However, we got to do it. I don't want to micromanage and tell somebody what to do and how to do it. Everybody here knows exactly what they're supposed to do. So let's give everybody an opportunity to get to get on board and to hire a good qualified city manager. That's my take on it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak to a couple of points that were made.
Okay, let me say a couple of things.
Go ahead.
I've been through this several times. Most of us here have been through it. Maybe a month. I don't think we need to go any further because as experience has shown me, a lot of times people make an application, but if you mess around too long, they done found a job somewhere else. So if you wait too long, then you're losing who it is. So I think maybe a month would be good. HR, I mean, it's our job to hire the city manager. I'd like any input that the HR has, such as where else we could reach out to or different avenues like that. But it gets right back to our job. And what Mr. Sampson said, I agree kind of with that, except a little further on the timeline and bring them in, say who's qualified. And by the time we do the initial interviews and then go back to it again, we're in a several month process. It doesn't happen, it doesn't be in the next month or two.
Mr. Mayor, so getting back to a point you just doubled down on, the HR director has nothing to do with hiring the city manager other than if we ask them to do pre-screening, because you don't have an employee hire their boss. So what we would do, and we've done in the past, we utilize the HR department to do the screening and the pre-screen to make sure they fit within the guidelines of the charter, because the charter is specific. There's 2 things you gotta have, or 3 things you gotta have regardless of what the charter says. I mean, that's the one thing. So HR director doesn't hire the city manager. This council does. If you go to the charter, it even says the city council shall appoint a city manager. Now, to use them for the pre-screening, we should do that. And that was part of the plan, was to do so. But that person's not going to conduct interviews or any of that thing. That's going to fall on this group to conduct the interviews. As far as the time frame, starting is important. If the group wants to go with a headhunter like Benziger, let's go ahead and call Benziger and see if they want to do it. Now, they didn't charge us before other than their expense, I believe. Is
They did.
that correct? Just the
That's correct.
expense? I know out of the headhunting hiring process, they were more expensive, but they look to be a lot more professional. I know Mr. Hill and the mayor, you were in those conversations. I'm not sure we need to spend $30,000 to hire someone. Let me give you another example. We've had 2 people apply with it not being posted. You had the guy today, there was another guy that sent an email to all of us. So there's been at least 2 people apply without it being posted. The job's gonna be posted. I mean, it's gotta be, because we gotta find someone that meets the qualifications of the charter. And I think then the larger the applicant pool, the better. I mean, one thing about Benziger or Basinger, I don't remember which way you say that. It's spelled, you can say it either way, I think. But one thing about them is they have a large pool and they have experience doing it. If you wanna outsource that piece instead of outsourcing it to our HR department, outsourcing it then might make sense.
We could reach out to him, let him make a proposal to us. Last time I actually met him for a short period, I was in Daytona that summer when he was still looking, and we spoke for a few minutes, and I was very impressed with him. I think we could ask for a proposal from him, and have it by the next meeting, make a decision. That's 2 weeks.
I wasn't on this council during the head hunting season, but I sat out there and it was a mess. And if we wanna pay all that money for what I witnessed out there, we're not thinking logically. And I do realize that HR does not hire, we actually do that, but they can help in the behind the scenes part of it. But the headhunting, I just believe that we're wasting a lot of money.
Mr. Mayor, as part of that too, so when I put this together, this idea, we were using the HR director, if you read through there. One point I know a lot of people look at is when we hire someone, you gotta think, last time we had a hard time coming to a consensus who to hire. It's gonna be important, whoever we hire, if we want them to be successful, it needs to be unanimous. It really does, because if we don't hire someone on a unanimous vote, they're coming in already with 1 foot down. And so to me, I think that's something we look at too, is, as we go through the process, what's someone that's gonna be able to come in and meet the needs of the city and move forward that way.
Well, I beg to differ on that. It's worked thus far with a 3-2 vote. It takes 3 of us to hire or to get rid of somebody. It takes 3. And I've been down that road where I wanted to get rid of someone, but I didn't have the votes to do it. So I don't think unanimous is the way to go. It's like I say, it's been working thus far, so.
We've not hired anybody on a 3-2 vote.
Well, I'm just saying though, but you talking about unanimous.
I don't know if we're gonna hire anybody that's not. I mean, we had people back out because they weren't offered it unanimous when we offered them before.
Right.
I mean, we had people that we had passed in this group 3-1 when there was 4 of us that then came back and said, I'm not gonna do it because one person said no. And I think that's what we're gonna find in a candidate, because here's the other thing you gotta look at. If you're stepping into it and you're on that side and you wanna sit in a seat and you wanna lead the city, if you come in and know it's 3-2, are you gonna uplift your life and move it here knowing that one person changed your mind next week, I could be looking for a job? I mean, it's just something to think about. The charter's clear, 3-2 is good enough. I don't know that 3-2, if that's our top candidate.
Well, you can look at that both ways, and I will also make them walk a chalk line. You look at it both ways.
Well, to me, I think the issue tonight is, do we reach out to Basinger or not, or do we just go ahead and start the process? Anybody wanna make a motion?
I make a motion to hire to give the city attorney to the authority to reach out to Collins and Basil and Associate, see if they're interested in assisting us in the hiring of the next city manager.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna, he's gonna reach out to them. Then they'll come back with a proposal as to how much money they're gonna charge us. When you say reach out, I'm not really understanding.
He'll send a proposal saying, I'm willing to do it, but this is what I'm gonna charge, this is what I'm gonna do, or I'm not interested.
Okay, so they'll be if they're not interested in hiring that means that we're losing time, right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
What's the hurry?
No, again, there's no, there's no rush, or anything like that. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding correctly. This is my first, time that we've, come to this roadblock where we need a city manager and the hiring process. This is my first time, so, I wanna make sure I get it right. I'm committed to make sure we get it right. That's it. Once we get it right, and bass singer, booth singer, whatever you call them, they get it right, I'm committed to doing just that. But I want to know.
Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor, may I ask a question before I call the roll? This is for the attorney. Do we need to waive the purchasing process to even have that conversation with the Basinger firm on an emergency basis? For the
I think
emergency
we can
need?
determine what their proposal is, and then before we accept it, we'd have to make a determination that the vacancy constitutes an emergency, and that we would then waive the procurement process.
So it's not, there won't be any violation of procurement process with you going ahead and reaching out to them to see if they're
See
interested?
if they're interested.
Okay, I just wanna make
They
sure.
may say we're not interested.
Right.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
No.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay,
If I may, Mayor,
Yes.
not knowing how that particular issue was gonna play out, clarification, obviously reference to Mr. Johnson as the, assistant city manager filling in automatically. He's now been given the term interim. Does the council wish, as to any renegotiation of his employment package, compensation, et cetera, during the interim period, or wait to see how long the process takes? But it could take longer than the 2 weeks or a month, or what Mr. Sampson said. So just need a clarification on how we wish to proceed on that.
Okay.
It may be that it could be a motion after consideration of the October 16th.
Yeah.
But I think we need to address it depending on some indication of how long the process would take.
Well, let's put that on the agenda for the 16th. That gives him time to think about it, those two. Okay. 13, City Council Ordinance 2023-2264 on first reading. Can I read that?
Ordinance 2023-2264, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, implementing the state statutory mandate to prepare business impact estimates prior to the adoption of proposed ordinances pursuant to section 166.0414 Florida statute, providing findings, adopting business impact estimate procedures, requirements, and exemptions, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on the City Council Ordinance 2023-2264 on first reading?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2023-2264, first reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next, City Council Resolution 2023-114. Mr. Cannon, would you read that time?
City Council Resolution number 2023-114, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an agreement with the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council, providing for the receipt of comprehensive planning services, providing for compensation not to exceed $23,500, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2023-114?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion of resolution number 2023-114.
For a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Mr. Sampson?
No.
Ms. Young?
Okay. Next is City Council Resolution number 2023-115.
City Council Resolution number 2023-115, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the Lake City Police Department to accept the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $15,448, providing for the procurement of equipment for the use and benefit of the police department, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2023-115?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-115.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, Department of Administration discussion, possible action approval to pay retainer in the amount of $298,821.19 to Legacy Waterworks. Mr. Scott.
Brian wasn't able to be here tonight, I can cover this
Sure.
better if you want me to. This is basically just to, close out the contract we have with, Legacy Water. This is for the installation of the sewer system, the two lift stations and piping at 47 I-75 to bring sewer to that interchange. And this is just to pay the retainage and to their final invoice. All work was completed to the satisfactory of the city.
Okay. Is there a motion to pay, Legacy Waterworks?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. I think this has been an excellent project. It's taken us a little bit of time to get here. I'd like to thank Mr. Dial and the staff for working on this and getting it done, getting it wrapped up. I look forward to seeing what we're gonna do out there. I mean, as we see the growth coming, I mean, here it goes.
It's going great. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, comments, tomorrow night is National Night Out with the police department over by the police station. I know Mr. Sampson's been there with his kids, I've took my grandkids there, it's a good time for kids. Very informative, a lot of agencies there. So it's from, 5 to 8. Got a comment?
Yes, did we, know of the arrangements for the corporal at this time, or did we know anything? I haven't heard anything.
The arrangements would set the, excuse me, the family asked that I not release that until tomorrow morning, so they have time to tell their family.
Okay.
But, tomorrow morning I will put out a notice and I'll make sure the council is aware.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I have one more question, Mayor.
Okay,
Mr. Dow, again, we have had our ups and downs in the past, but here lately, we've been up. And again, you will be missed, especially by myself. And again, I hope you, whatever the reason is, I won't ask, but, is there any way you can reconsider?
One more time.
That's all I have. You would like to say something, Mr. Dow?
I just like to say it's been a great pleasure, serving for the council and especially for the, employees and the citizens of this great city. I feel privileged to be able to help in any small way. I've always said the city of Lake City has some of the best staff, you will find anywhere. They're dedicated, they're knowledgeable, and they're dedicated, very dedicated to what they do. And, their main concern is to make sure the citizens are taken care of, and each one of them is, very, very, steward of the things that they do, and I will miss this group terribly. I've grown to love each and every one of them from the field on. As you said, Mr. Hill, we don't always get along sometimes, but It's always been for the betterment of the city. And, I think if the council focuses on that, the betterment of the city and the staff is the biggest asset the city has. It's not the buildings, it's not the equipment, just the personnel. And if you take care of the personnel, they'll take care of everything else, and they'll take care of the citizens. And if they take care of the citizens, then you all don't get all the calls that are being things that are needing done. And it's been a real pleasure to serve with each and every one of you. We've had some disagreements in the past, but like I said, in the end, I think each and every one of you care about the city and you care about the path forward. And I've just been privileged to serve. I've got 12 years with the city, and it's been a great ride. But I think the city is in an excellent place now. I think all the personnel, and I think Mr. Johnson is a very, very good asset for the city. He started from the bottom as I did when I came here. He's worked his way up, so he knows what the city needs, and he knows what you all need. And I've relied heavily on Mr. Johnson since I've had him in the assistant position. I think he'll do an excellent job as an interim. I know he has a lot of respect for the staff, and they have respect for him. And that's all you can ask, is to respect each other. And I think that's what the city has right now. And I think going forward, Mr. Johnson would be the best choice to lead this city. If it was my opinion, if I had a vote, I would vote for Mr. Johnson. If I ever end up somewhere else running the city, I'll try to get Mr. Johnson to come with me. That's how much respect I have.
Wait a minute now,
You don't wanna put him in place, don't make me say it, put him in place.
I wanted to go through the process.
Put him in place.
Got a motion to adjourn? Second. We're adjourned.